You should never tolerate any of these 7 harmful habits, not even from relatives. Being silent no longer seems peaceful at some point in life. It has a hefty feel. Something inside of you seems to be gradually getting smaller. You begin to see that more people take advantage of you the more understanding you are. They push their boundaries further the more you are willing to forgive them. And you come to a significant realization one day. Boundaries are necessary for peace to exist. It is a silent betrayal of oneself. This is a tough reality, particularly when family members are the ones causing the suffering. We are taught that love necessitates sacrifice, loyalty implies perseverance, and blood justifies behavior. However, dignity was never supposed to be sacrificed for love. We'll discuss 7 poisonous habits in this video that you should never tolerate, not even from family members. Not because you're frigid or self-centered, but because self-respect is survival, not cruelty. Disrespect masquerading as humor is one of the most prevalent poisonous behaviors that people have tolerated for far too long. It usually begins quietly, with a joke about your decisions, a snarky remark about your aspirations, or a chuckle at your expense at a family get-together. You are told that you are overly sensitive and that it was only a joke, and that you should learn to laugh when you finally feel uneasy enough to speak up. However, this is a truth that many people overlook. Repeatedly humiliating humor is not innocuous. It's a test. It determines the limit of your tolerance.
You are teaching others how to treat you each time you dismiss it with a joke in order to maintain harmony. This type of action gradually undermines your self-confidence. You start to question yourself. To avoid making another joke, you begin to scale back your goals. It is never necessary to conceal genuine respect beneath humor. Furthermore, you don't have to tolerate being diminished in order to feel truly close. Emotional manipulation is another extremely harmful activity. This one is more difficult to identify because it frequently manifests as shame, sacrifice, and worry. These individuals never stop reminding you of all that they have done for you. They assign you responsibility for their feelings. You are the cause of their unhappiness.
You are ungrateful if you establish boundaries. You are selfish if you select yourself. You eventually start to feel in charge of controlling their expectations, disappointments, and moods. In addition to being exhausting, this is not your job. You do not have to give up control of your inner life in order to care for someone. Confusion is a breeding ground for emotional manipulation. It encourages you to check your judgment, consider your motivations, and offer an apology for actions that were not incorrect. Its worst enemy is calm clarity. You don't have to go on and on about yourself. You don't have to win debates. The best effective answer is frequently to stand your ground without becoming angry or feeling guilty. The existence of persistent negativity is closely related to manipulation. Some individuals bring turmoil with them wherever they go. Every discussion turns into a grievance. Every circumstance is problematic. Drama, criticism, or anxiety seem to break every moment of calm. Instead of feeling grounded after spending time with them, you feel exhausted. You could adore them. Even if you may feel sorry for them, self-sacrifice is not necessary to show sympathy. Long-term exposure to negativity changes your perspective in ways you might not realize right away. You become less optimistic, more reactive, and more nervous. Your mental landscape gradually starts to resemble theirs. You don't have to try to change negative individuals or argue with them. It's also not necessary to make an announcement about your departure. Quiet remoteness can sometimes be the healthiest option. Avoidance is not the same as protecting your peace. It is knowledge gained via experience. Refusing to accept responsibility is another harmful tendency that subtly destroys relationships. For these individuals, everything is always the fault of someone else. They explain when something goes wrong. They justify when they injure you. They deflect when you mention a pattern. You might keep forgiving them in the hopes that things will change this time,
However, patterns are more important than assurances. Perfection is not the goal of accountability. It has to do with accountability. When someone avoids it on a regular basis, they put the emotional strain on others. You start to bear the burden of their errors, their emotions, and their unsolved problems. Although forgiveness is a great tool, it tells others that there is no cost to reach you. Eventually, wisdom poses a different query: whether someone truly changes their behavior, not if they are sorry. If not, distance turns into a way to respect oneself rather than a way to punish someone. Another harsh fact emerges as life progresses. People who grin at you may not all want you to be successful. In households where support is expected and comparison is frequently normative, it can be particularly challenging to accept envy and concealed competitiveness. These are the people who seem supportive but quietly undermine your advancement. When you struggle, they discreetly cheer, and when you succeed, they become uneasy. You can tell by the way they speak, the way they give you backhanded compliments, and how the discussion changes when you bring up a topic that is important to you. This has nothing to do with paranoia. It has to do with consciousness. Envy is not something you have to face. You don't have to reveal it. Moving forward without providing an explanation is frequently the healthiest course of action. Don't share your plans. Let your development speak for itself. Some individuals find your achievement unsettling because it reminds them of things they avoided in their own lives. There is a more profound concept that underlies all of these actions. It's the gradual deterioration of boundaries. Boundaries are not walls to keep you apart. They are rules that safeguard your time, your vitality, and your identity. It is not closeness when someone constantly pushes after you say no, disregards your boundaries, or makes you feel bad for defending your personal space. Control is that. In an effort to be understood, many people feel the need to defend their limits all the time. However, those that appreciate you don't need long explanations, and they will never satisfy those who are determined to cross your lines. Emotional defense is not as important as calm enforcement. The most obvious method to show that you value yourself is to go away without grudges, without speeches, and without taking retribution. There is one additional poisonous activity that links all the others together and is frequently overlooked but causes long-lasting harm. It is the practice of ignoring your feelings. You learn to distrust yourself if you are often taught that your emotions are inflated, inconvenient, or incorrect. You eventually cease paying attention to your inner cues. Before you speak, you pause. You wonder if your uneasiness is real. One of the subtlest ways people lose themselves is like this. Being sensitive is not a sign of weakness. Information is what it is. Your inner compass becomes untrustworthy when your emotions are consistently dismissed. Additionally, it is far more difficult to safeguard your tranquility, limits, and well-being when you lack that compass. Recognizing these tendencies does not imply that you instantly take individuals out of your life, and none of them go away quickly. Growth is rarely dramatic. It's silent. Smaller choices such as deciding not to laugh at painful things, avoiding carrying guilt that is not yours, withdrawing from emotionally draining talks, and noticing patterns rather than pursuing excuses are all examples of it. Strength doesn't always make itself known. It frequently takes the form of peaceful separation, unresentful quiet, or leaving without having to give a reason. And there is one last fact that connects everything as we proceed. Isolation is not the path to true peace. Discipline is where it can be discovered, the self-control to safeguard your inner world, the self-control to respect oneself even in the face of disrespect from others, and the self-control to quit putting up with things that don't belong in your life. The term toxic behavior frequently conjures up images of yelling, insults, or blatant cruelty. The most harmful patterns, however, are rarely audible in real life. They don't talk. Slowly, they repeat. They conceal themselves in familiarity,
We allow them to persist because we accept that this is the way they are. For it is we who persuade ourselves that to endure pain is to love. Without awareness, however, perseverance turns into self-abandonment. Additionally, it gradually convinces others that you may compromise on your peace. This is why everything changes when you learn to accept what you will no longer accept.
Slowly but surely, in a way that changes the way you navigate the world, not all at once, not drastically. You cease responding. You begin to watch. You pay more attention to patterns than words. You start to see that stepping away is not a sign of failure, and that maintaining a calm distance is frequently healthier than engaging in emotional conflict. It can occasionally be the most developed kind of strength. Accepting that family does not always equate to safety is one of the most difficult lessons for many adults, particularly as they get older. It means familiar. History is what it signifies. It refers to common experiences. However, familiarity does not justify recurrent injury. You don't have to stay in places that gradually erode your sense of self in order to find love. Someone is always revealing who they are to you when they persistently push your limits, minimize your emotions, or impede your progress. Furthermore, consistency is more important than purpose. Because they continue to hold out hope for a person who may never have existed or is no longer there, many people remain stuck in dysfunctional relationships. They recall that person's past self or their potential self in the event of a transformation. However, reality, not possibility, is the foundation of partnerships. Peace cannot be established with someone who enjoys disruption. When someone refuses to take responsibility, you can't feel secure around them. Furthermore, you cannot stay whole while continuously defending your right to fundamental respect. Something uneasy can come to your attention as you become more conscious. You may encounter greater opposition the more grounded you go. The version of you that remained silent, took responsibility, and maintained harmony at personal expense is advantageous to some individuals. They might accuse you of being cold, aloof, or self-centered when you change. This response is instructive. It demonstrates that the foundation of the connection was access to your energy rather than respect for one another. And entitlement is evident when access is restricted. This is where a lot of folks are conflicted. They fear that defending themselves will make them cruel or unpleasant. However, there is a distinction between clarity and brutality. Cruelty aims at punishment. Clarity aims to maintain. You don't have to be passive to be tranquil. You don't have to be aggressive to be firm. You don't have to be angry to leave. Actually, the most obvious indication that a choice was made out of knowledge rather than ego is frequently the lack of anger. Something else starts to happen when boundaries get stronger. Inside, quit giving too many explanations. You quit justifying your decisions to those who are determined to misunderstand you. You understand that you don't need to justify yourself to people who respect you. Furthermore, those who insist on it will never be appeased. This insight is liberating. It allows you to go back in time. It replenishes your vitality. Most significantly, it restores your self-confidence. The basis of inner serenity is trust. Have faith that your discomfort has a purpose. Have faith that there is a purpose behind your boundaries. Have faith that leaving things that hurt you is an act of alignment rather than abandonment. After decades of disregarding this inner voice, many individuals eventually feel disoriented, bitter, or worn out. Significant modifications are not necessary to regain that trust. The first step is to listen once more and to honor what seems incorrect rather than try to explain it away. As you mature, you could also find that certain relationships inevitably end. Talks get shorter. The frequency of visits decreases. It's because of clarity rather than disagreement. Evolution naturally includes this. It's not necessary for everyone to accompany you through every stage of life. You can't completely embrace who you are becoming if you cling too much to the dynamics of the past. Healthy relationships can arise when people let go in a calm and non-aggressive manner. Additionally, there is a significant reality that must be acknowledged. There are others who will never admit the damage they have caused. They might never say sorry. To preserve their perception of themselves, they might alter history. You are bound to their actions if you wait for them to give you closure. Most of the time, you have to give yourself closure. Understanding, not agreement, is the source of it. From choosing peace over approval, from acceptance rather than justification. You might observe a change in your inner world when you cease putting up with things that exhaust you. Your thoughts get more composed, your reactions become slower, and your sense of self becomes more solid. You are less reliant on acceptance, less impacted by guilt, and less prone to get sucked into conflicts. Emotional detachment is not this. It's emotional development. It enables you to approach life from a position of stability as opposed to one of survival. And this is arguably the most significant shift of all. You no longer gauge love by how much you put up with. You start by gauging your sense of safety, respect, and visibility. Relationships are changed by this reinterpretation. It raises the bar without requiring demands. People who prefer calm to control are drawn to it.
And it subtly eliminates people who profit from imbalance. All of this does not make you pain insensitive. While growth alters your relationship with hardship, it does not remove it. You quit making other people's dysfunction personal. What was never yours to hold, you let go of. You no longer mistake familiarity for belonging. And by doing this, you recover your inner authority, which is crucial. Strength no longer seems at proving oneself at a specific point in life. It appears to be understanding when to avoid interaction. It appears as quiet unwillingness to engage in cycles that no longer benefit you, as distance without drama, and as silence without resentment. There's no need to applaud such strength. It doesn't make an announcement. It is sensed in the calm steadiness of a protected intellect. Let this serve as a reminder to you if you ever wonder if you have the right to back off, say no, or put peace before duty. You do not have to put up with conduct that diminishes your self-respect. Not from friends, not from relatives, nor from strangers. Respect is not an extravagance. It is a foundation. Furthermore, defending it is not a rebellious act. It's a responsible action. When you let go of things that hurt you, your life becomes lighter. When you quit putting up with things that make you confused, your thinking becomes clearer. And when you quit defending yourself to people who never paid attention, your tranquility grows. Isolation is not the issue here. Discipline is the key. The self-control to choose self-respect over quiet suffering, awareness over denial, and peace over turmoil. And the moment you determine that your peace is important enough to be safeguarded, that discipline starts.